Now let's get to our features. Starting with May, December. This movie was released in select theaters November 17th, comes out on Netflix December 1st. Directed by Todd Haynes, screenplay by Sammy Birch. And here's the thing. I'm going to read the log line. 20 years after their notorious tabloid romance gripped the nation, a married couple, played by Julianne Moore and Charles Melton, buckles under the pressure when an actress, actually she's a TV actress played by Natalie Portman, arrives to do research for a film about their past. That's the simple plot line behind May, December. Set in Savannah, Georgia. The way this movie's shot, it's weird because, I don't know, Bruce, did you get that visual technique of this movie? It feels like it was maybe shot on film. It has a very gauzy, hazy effect to the whole thing. It's set in 2015, but it feels like it's set in early 90s. I don't know. There's something weird visually about this movie that I enjoyed. And this, like Todd Haynes, you were talking about how he just sort of subverts the genre. It could be looked at as a campy soap opera melodrama. It can be considered possibly a thriller due to the music, the pacing, the shots, or it could be sort of this steamy romance. Or, I mean, not steamy romance. It's sort of it seems exploitative a little bit because that's the actual nature of it. An older woman seduces a seventh grader. Okay, so there's a lot of different tabloidy elements, thriller elements, kinda, but maybe not so much. But it features some really great performances by Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman. The surprise for me was Charles Melton, Riverdale actor, gaining 40 pounds for this movie to play a 36-year-old. We actually see him, and he ends up being, in my opinion, the heart and soul of the movie. That was my read on it. Bruce, your read on May, December. Is this another Todd Haynes banger, or was this a disappointment for you?
It was not a disappointment for me. I didn't really know what to expect from this movie. I think it is another banger. I think it won't work for everybody, and it's a very particular flavor. This might be a second, and I don't know if he has a trilogy. Maybe I haven't seen all of his movies, but this could be like a second trilogy that goes with Far From Heaven, where there are these half campy, melodramatic, suburban stories, but with an art house kind of twist that he gives them. A perfect example is this is obviously patterned after Mary Kay Letourneau. So for those of our age group that remember the whole Mary Kay Letourneau scandal, this is almost as if you took that idea and said, like, what if you took that scandal and you just dropped an actress into their lives 20 years later and said, how is this person going to research their role? And what are they going to find out has happened in the aftermath? What does the family of this person look like now? And what does the old family of this person look like now? And what do the neighbors think about all this? All that kind of stuff. I think this is a movie of really sublimely awkward moments throughout, with some very sly comedic elements built into it, but very subtle. And some great visual stuff going on as well. I think, as I think back about this movie, there are scene after scene after scene that I think I could go back and watch and really appreciate. Just a couple I'll mention. I'm not going to mention, like, spoil anything. The fact that the moment the actress arrives, she arrives during is a graduation or a barbecue, I think, or something like that.
Sort of a barbecue and celebration, yeah.
So she arrives to the house. She's going to hang out with her for a while to study, what is the name of the actual character she's studying? Gracie. Gracie is a Mary Kay Letourneau character, right? Played by Julianne Moore. And when Natalie Portman's character, Elizabeth, shows up, no one answers the door. So, you know how you come to someone's door and you see the mail on the doorstep and you pick it up? She picks up the mail, walks around the back, and immediately they're like, oh no, another one. And they just know instinctively, this is a box of shit. And this just sets the scene like, wow, these people have been living 20 years away from this scandal, and they're still getting boxes of mail. Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to swear, am I?
No, it's okay. I'll bleep it out.
Yeah, you can bleep it out.
Like a box of actual excrement?
Yes, extra excrement.
Oh, wow.
So, and then other little scenes, but there's great scenes like, for example, the Natalie Portman character goes various places. Like, she wants to go to the places and talk to the people that are involved in his life, like his former family that obviously have all become somewhat estranged because mom had an affair with a seventh grader. You know, that's really interesting. Those scenes are really interesting. And there's a scene where she goes to the new daughter's high school drama class, and they ask her questions about like, oh, what's a sex scene like when you're performing? And that's very interesting. I think I agree with you 100%. The Charles Melton performance is amazing because he is an adult playing an adult who is stunted.
Yes.
Who, in mannerisms and in the way he deals with the world, he is about 14. And
don't look at me like that. Don't look at me when you say that. Emotionally stunted.
It's done.
How dare you, Bruce?
He physically acts it that way, and he emotionally acts it that way, and it's very subtle and very interesting. And the dynamic between him and Julianne Moore is amazing. And also, I think subtly, this movie is also a whole bunch about Natalie Portman's character.
Yeah.
And I think she is the character who has the true arc in this movie. And if you kind of think about where she goes from the beginning to the end of this movie and how she interacts throughout this pathway and what she's doing, it's very interesting. So I thought this is a pretty great movie, actually.
I mean, we don't have time to do it, but if we ever did a spoiler, it would be great to just break down the character's arc for Elizabeth. Is it really like who actually has that hero's journey in this narrative? And I think what's also interesting is the character arc of Gracie, without giving too much away. I think when you think, okay, well, she is a predator, obviously, with what she did years ago, what is going on in her brain? What are her motivations? And those things are explored I feel in a very oblique fashion in this movie. And the interpretation, and I think it's a good thing, can be gleaned from the viewer. So I really ascribed a lot of value to this movie. And it's visually, there's, Bruce, you actually screenshotted one of the more interesting visual moments in the film regarding mirrors. And of course, I'm sure listeners, you've seen some of the promotional photos where you have Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore looking in the mirror. They're side by side together, sort of like an Ingmar Bergman persona type of situation. Yes, right. Bruce?
I was going to say, and how about the scene where Julianne Moore puts makeup on Natalie Portman's character?
Great.
Amazing scene as well.
There's so many. Look, what Bruce mentioned is some really great, interesting scenes featuring Portman and Julianne Moore. There's a scene with Charles Melton playing Joe, and he is talking to his son. I'm not going to say where it's located, but it is, wow. That one hit me like a ton of bricks, that one. So this is actually, you know what? Eric, you haven't seen, I know, Bruce, you haven't seen Carol. I think Eric might have seen Carol. Carol was was my favorite film the year that was released. And maybe I might even actually willingly put Carol in the box since we're in a Todd Haynes mode right now. Just put it on that list. As much as I love Carol, that sequence with Joe and his son is right there is peak emotional moment for me as far as Todd Haynes goes. So I hope Charles Melton gets a nomination for this movie. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be crowded, but he's deserving of the talk, at least, Bruce, maybe deserving a little bit of.
I would say so, for supporting actor, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyways, final thoughts on May December. Do you think this will get nominated? Does it deserve some nods in this award season, Bruce?
I don't think it's probably flashy enough to get nominated much.
If you were a voter, Bruce, would this be in your conversation?
It'd definitely be in my conversation. I think this is a movie that's sneaky. I think this is a movie that over time will actually grow in people's opinion as well, because this is one of those movies when you look back at it, I think it is, every scene is precise and is there for a reason, and the writing is very tight, but it's deceptively so.
Bruce, I am a Critics' Choice voter, and you're not supposed. I don't think you're supposed to give your nominations out, but I'm quite a disgraceful individual. All of the mean, bad things I said to Eric Holmes today vis-a-vis Project Alpha. I apologize to you, Eric Holmes. It was just me and Greg coming out. I will say this: Natalie Portman, in consideration, in my feeble brain, for Best Actress nomination, I may vote for her. She might be one of the people I pick.
She supporting does some really, really great stuff in this.
Yes.
The last scene is amazing, and the scene where she does like a monologue to the screen, and she's reading a note. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then, that's what adults do, Bruce. Okay. Julianne Moore is Gracie, supporting actress, right? Supporting actress, and definitely Charles Melton, it's supporting actor. That would be my nominations. I mean, that as far as voting at CCA, I'm thinking about those three people. You know what, Eric? You've got Netflix. Do you think May, December, is that you have a lot of movies to cover next week. Is that down the road? You might want to see that movie as well.
Yes. In fact, Carol was not on my list, but you mentioned Todd. Like it just looked like homework to me when it came out. Like I remember it came out, and I was like, "No way in hell I'm watching this." But I was like, "Oh, it's Todd Haynes, person that did the Dark Waters." Yeah, I'll check it out.
I think you might like it, Eric, the same way you like Phantom Thread. Yes, Bruce.
Not to belabor it, but one last thing. We have to call out Georgie, her son, played by Corey Michael Smith, her son from her former marriage. That's is amazing character as well.
That guy should have his own movie.
Right?
He should play in a cover band in Savannah and just follow his journey right from there. Right?
This is, I tell you, this is one of those movies you watch and you go, that was pretty good. I guarantee you watch this movie, you go, that's pretty good. And as you think back on it, things will keep coming back to you. And you're going to be like, that movie is actually really great.
So, yeah. Well, look, this is my rating. It could go up, but I'm going to say right now, my rating for May, December is an easy 4.5 stars. Bruce,
same, exactly the same, and probably will go up too. I don't have much bad to say about it, and I think on a rewatch this will rise, because I think it's one of those movies like we just talked about. If you have Patreon, you can hear us talk about it. We just talk about how the first time you see, you're kind of getting your bearings for what's going on, but on the second time, I would probably catch all the little intentional stuff that's going along in here, and just all those little moments. This is also kind of like Big Lebowski, where it's the character moments that you really love, and this movie is chock full of them.
Look, we both gave it 4.5 stars. That means go see May, December. And I still feel like me and Bruce are undercutting the rating. That's how much I think we both enjoyed. I'm glad we both are on the same wavelength.